Welcome to our Hong Kong Brief Show. Today, we dive into some intriguing developments. First up, China has launched an anti-dumping investigation into polyformaldehyde (POM) copolymer exports from the EU, US, Japan, and Taiwan, leaving many in the industry puzzled about the timing and target of this probe. Next, China's real estate giant, Vanke, has secured yet another loan, bringing their total to a whopping $1 billion this month, demonstrating their relentless pursuit of liquidity amid government-backed rescue measures. Lastly, the ongoing feud between Uber and Hong Kong taxi drivers is heating up, with undercover taxi drivers posing as Uber passengers to catch drivers in the act, further complicating the debate over the legality and future of ride-hailing services in the city. Please stay tuned for detailed coverage of these stories. Nikkei Asia, China's Ministry of Commerce has launched an anti-dumping investigation into polyformaldehyde (POM) copolymer imports from the EU, US, Japan, and Taiwan, causing confusion among industry players regarding the timing and target of the probe. POM copolymer is a high-durability engineering plastic used in various industries, including automotive and medical equipment. The investigation, requested by 6 Chinese companies, follows legal procedures under China's Anti-Dumping Ordinance of 2002. This move coincides with political tensions, such as Taiwan's new President Lai Ching-te's inauguration, and could be seen as China's strategic response to international pressures. Companies like Celanese, Polyplastics, Asahi Kasei, Mitsubishi Gas Chemical, and Formosa Plastics are named in the probe, which could benefit Chinese companies like Yunnan Yuntianhua and CHN Energy Ningxia Coal Industry. The investigation's impact on these international companies varies, with some already having production facilities in China to mitigate potential tariffs. Bloomberg, China Vanke Company, a major real estate developer, has secured a new loan of 1.2 billion yuan, $166 million, from Bank of China, bringing its recent borrowings to over $1 billion. This funding will support a development project in Changzhou and reflects Vanke's strategy to enhance liquidity amidst China's prolonged property crisis. Despite adding to its debt, Vanke's financial maneuvers suggest a bid to leverage government support measures aimed at boosting the property market. Investor sentiment towards Vanke has improved, with bond prices rebounding following the government's rescue package, which includes 300 billion yuan in central bank funding to help state-backed firms purchase excess inventory from developers. Bloomberg intelligence analyst Christy Hung notes that Vanke could significantly benefit from these measures, given its substantial property inventory. The company's proactive financial management highlights its efforts to navigate the challenging real estate landscape and maintain investor confidence. South China Morning Post, the ongoing conflict between Uber and Hong Kong taxi drivers has reached a critical point, with taxi drivers going undercover to report Uber drivers, exacerbating the standoff. Business leaders and observers argue that the government needs to decisively address the legality of Uber's operations. The tension stems from the high value of taxi licenses, which are considered financial assets worth millions of Hong Kong dollars, creating vested interests among license holders. Uber, which operates as a matching service between drivers and passengers, has become popular despite being deemed illegal by the Transport Department. Entertainment tycoon Alan Zaman and other stakeholders urge the government to legalize Uber, citing improved service quality for residents and tourists. The Transport and Logistics Bureau acknowledges the need for regulation but has yet to take a definitive stance. Economist Simon Lee Shupa highlights the government's reluctance to harm the financial interests of taxi license holders, while the introduction of premium taxi fleets is seen as a potential solution to elevate service standards and address market needs. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's potential as a fundraising hub for AI startups is being recognized by European venture capital firm Alpha Intelligence Capital, AIC. The city's deep capital pools and strategic connector role in Asia make it an attractive location for raising funds. Arnaud Barthélemy, a partner at AIC and former French consul general in Hong Kong, recently returned to the city to meet with ultra-high-net-worth individuals and family offices to raise funds for AIC's second AI-focused fund, targeting $250 million. The first fund, launched in 2018, raised $185 million, and the current fund has already collected $160 million since early 2022. Barthélemy highlighted Hong Kong's appeal to investors who see the transformative potential of AI across various industries. While AIC invests globally, it has not ventured into mainland China due to the need for a strong local team. However, Barthélemy hinted at the possibility of a future AI fund focused on China and Asia, with Hong Kong serving as a natural base due to its gateway role. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong residents should brace for heavy showers on Tuesday morning as unstable weather continues throughout the week. The Hong Kong Observatory warned of an area of showers moving closer to the territory, with heavier rain expected in some parts. The 9-day weather forecast predicts persistent rain, although the trough of low pressure may weaken slightly in the coming days, leading to fewer showers over coastal areas of Guangdong. Upper air disturbances are expected to keep the weather unsettled over southern China towards the weekend. The city might experience some sunny intervals on Saturday as these disturbances move away. Residents are advised to stay alert for weather updates and keep their umbrellas handy. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong is emerging as a significant contributor to research and development in the Greater Bay Area, GBA, particularly in fields of national strategic importance such as biomedicine, environmental science, clean energy, artificial intelligence, AI, and quantum computing. A report by information analytics firm Elsevier, commissioned by the Chinese University of Hong Kong, CUHK, reveals that the GBA's research output nearly doubled from 2018 to 2022, with 142,663 publications. The number of active researchers in the region also doubled to 207,800 by 2022. Hong Kong's universities are key drivers of this growth, with CUHK making substantial contributions in AI and biomedicine. The city's overall research output is strongest in computer science and engineering, laying the foundation for AI and robotics development. Despite this, Hong Kong's institutions lag behind Sun Yat-sen University in Guangzhou. Enterprises like Huawei, Tencent, and China's Southern Power Grid are leading industry-academia collaborations in the GBA, further solidifying the region's status as a burgeoning tech hub. South China Morning Post. Charlie Scott, former Manchester United midfielder now playing for Kitchee, has expressed that significant changes are likely on the horizon for the club after a disappointing season. Last year's treble winners will finish this term with only the Senior Shield, having lost their league title, an FA Cup semi-final, and the Sapling Cup final within a devastating week. Scott, who joined Kitchee 3 years ago, described this as his most challenging week at the club and admitted to his own failings this season. The players are left puzzled by the demotion of interim head coach Kim Dong-jin, with assistant manager Edgar Cardoso taking the lead. Despite the internal upheaval, Scott believes the responsibility lies with the players on the pitch. He anticipates an overhaul in both players and management, as the current performance has been subpar. Scott, who scored his 4th goal of the season in a recent 3-0 victory over Southern, emphasized the importance of team cohesion and morale, which he felt had been lacking. He remains hopeful for the future, aiming to stay next season and help Kitchee reclaim their former glory. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong traded shares of Chinese dual-listed companies are at their smallest discounts to mainland counterparts in 15 months, signaling robust momentum in the city's $5.4 trillion equity market, which has entered a bull phase. The Hang Seng Index, which tracks the price difference between H shares in Hong Kong and A shares in mainland China, has dropped to its lowest since January 2023. This gap has narrowed as Hong Kong stocks surged, driven by bargain-hunting global investors and China's efforts to resolve the property market crisis. Despite these gains, the Hang Seng Index remains the cheapest globally, trading at 6.9 times reported earnings. Analysts, including those from Morgan Stanley, see further upside potential, buoyed by expectations of improved corporate earnings and supportive policies for China's property market. The influx of overseas investments through Stock Connect programs has bolstered the market, with the Hang Seng Index rising nearly a third from its January low. The narrowing price gap is more pronounced in small-cap companies, while large firms show smaller discrepancies. China's recent property sector bailout is expected to further boost Hong Kong stocks by stabilizing investor confidence. South China Morning Post. Qianlong Village in Hong Kong's New Territories, with its rich 600-year Hakka history and lush natural surroundings, is now home to Kun Man Space, a new communal arts venue. This former school has been transformed into a serene space for contemporary photography and interdisciplinary research. The opening is marked by exhibitions from Hong Kong artists Ki Wong and Pak Chai, who spent 2 years in residency exploring the village's stories. Wong's exhibition, The Rock and the Gaze, reinterprets historical photos with a focus on women's roles, blending silkscreen prints with fictional stories. Chai's photo voice, Bits and Bobs from Qianlong Villagers, features collected stories and images from villagers, juxtaposing past and present. The venue also hosted British artist Alice Cazenave for sustainable photography workshops using local plants. Kun Man Space plans further creative exchanges and environmental research, aiming to connect the past with the present and enrich the cultural tapestry of Qianlong. South China Morning Post. The number of students from Hong Kong studying in private schools in Britain has dropped slightly from the peak last year to about 7,700, and a consultant has warned the figure may fall further if the UK government removes a tax exemption for the operators. According to an annual census conducted in January by the United Kingdom's Independent Schools Council, 7,677 students from Hong Kong are now studying in private schools in the country, down from the record of 8,011 last year. However, the number of students with at least one parent living in the UK has jumped by 10% to 2,602 students, up from 2,357 last year. This figure has been rising after the British National, Overseas, Visa Scheme rolled out in January 2021, a bespoke immigration pathway launched by the UK government after the imposition of a national security law by Beijing. Education consultant Leo Chan Tsc Chung noted that the growing community of Hong Kongers in the UK had pushed up the number of students entering private schools. He pointed out that tuition fees might become a concern if the Labour Party wins the general election in January and removes the value-added tax exemption for independent schools. South China Morning Post. Although new COVID-19 variants are continuing to emerge around the world, scientists and doctors have started preparing for the next pandemic. Zhang Wenhong, director of China's National Medical Center for Infectious Diseases, highlighted the connection between climate change and the mutation and spread of infectious diseases. As the planet's climate changes, the way pathogens evolve and mutate is also changing, leading to an expansion of bacteria and viruses. Research shows that the incidence rate of encephalitis and Lyme disease in the United States is growing, and mosquito-borne dengue fever is increasingly found in new areas in China. Zhang emphasized the need for global collaboration to create disease management agreements and strategies. He signed a memorandum of understanding with the University of Hong Kong to work towards that goal, bringing together experts from various fields to conduct in-depth research on climate change and infectious diseases. This initiative aims to provide data and evidence to build global pandemic preparedness and establish monitoring systems for early warning and quick response actions. Australian Broadcasting Corporation. A deadly strain of avian influenza has breached the fragile ecosystem of Antarctica, leading to mass mortality events among Adelie penguins and skuas. Australian researcher Dr. Megan Dewar described the devastation, noting that the virus had reached the continent's remote regions. The virus, a mutated strain of bird flu known as H5N1, has been spreading globally, affecting over 500 bird species and more than 60 mammalian species. In South America, it has wiped out significant portions of native pelican and penguin populations, and more than 10% of sea lions have died. The virus has also jumped species, infecting dairy cattle and a farmer in the U.S. While the risk to humans remains low, with people acting as dead-end hosts, the potential for a widespread outbreak in Australia is a concern. The highest risk period is theorized to be from September, with migratory birds potentially bringing the virus. Australia's poultry industry has increased biosecurity measures, and the public is urged to report unusual bird deaths to help control any outbreaks. The Sydney Morning Herald. When Taiwan's government issued its first invasion guide in 2022, it faced criticism for being unrealistic. The guide included tips on finding bomb shelters and food using QR codes, overlooking the fact that the internet would likely be down during an invasion. The 28-page booklet, illustrated with cartoons, failed to provide practical advice on distinguishing between Chinese and Taiwanese soldiers. This led to the creation of a more realistic manual featuring photos and advice on surviving without the internet and responding to a nuclear attack. Amid this tense atmosphere, Lai Ching-te of the Democratic People's Party, DPP, took office, with an Australian delegation in attendance, much to Beijing's displeasure. Beijing responded with intensified military intimidation, flying its air force into Taiwan's airspace almost daily. Xi Jinping views Lai as a troublemaker aiming for Taiwan's independence, despite Lai advocating for the status quo. If she orders the People's Liberation Army to seize Taiwan, Lai will lead the island into war. Despite internal political scuffles, Lai's election is a statement of defiance against Beijing, with Taiwan's people increasingly identifying as solely Taiwanese rather than Chinese. Washington Post. In Hong Kong, the Bun Festival on Chung Chau Island is a unique celebration that coincides with Buddha's birthday. The festival involves various traditions, including vegetarian offerings from local restaurants and McDonald's, bun towers, and parades. The island, home to over 20,000 people, becomes a hub of activity with parades featuring floating children in traditional costumes. This year, the festival included political satire, such as a float mocking the government's waste management scheme. Despite the intense heat, locals and visitors enjoyed the festivities, with adults drinking cold beer and children participating in martial arts demonstrations. The festival also features a midnight bun tower race, where participants climb a 40-foot tower to collect buns. The event attracted over 25,000 visitors, although many left before the race due to it being a weekday. The festival's blend of tradition and modernity, along with its light-hearted atmosphere, makes it a beloved event for both locals and tourists. Telegraph. Britain cannot afford to turn its back on Chinese money, warned City Minister Bim Afalami, despite growing concerns about Beijing's interference. Afalami emphasized that China's economic significance, with its large banks and financial institutions, makes disengagement impractical. His comments align with Foreign Secretary Lord Cameron's call for greater engagement with China. This comes amid concerns about China's cyber activities, such as a hack on a Ministry of Defense contractor. Afalami's stance is part of the UK's effort to attract Chinese investment, including talks to list fast fashion brand Shine on the London stock market. However, there is a split within the Conservative Party on how to handle relations with China, with some senior MPs calling for a tougher approach. Despite these internal disagreements, China remains Britain's fifth-largest trading partner, emphasizing the economic interdependence between the two nations. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.